I'm not sure what Jameis will be when he's back as a starter. I do believe he'll be the starter for the New Orleans Saints. But I know because of what's going on with Michael Thomas and because of what they lack from an offensive standpoint on the outside, I think the Saints are better suited to have Taysom in his original role. If you put him under center, you limit what you do from an offensive standpoint, flexibility-wise. And I would much prefer have him and Alvin Kamara be an issue for a defense as opposed to having him at quarterback and you trying to create some semblance of a QB run game. And let me say this as well. You put Taysom Hill as quarterback at the starting quarterback for the Saints, and you asking him to consistently throw the football, that's not where he's better suited at. If you're trying to make this a similar offense to what the Baltimore Ravens are, then I could see an argument for that if you want to implement that type of scheme. But that ain't what Sean Payton doing. Sean Payton wants an offense that can dink and dunk and be explosive when need be. And I think Jameis is better suited in order to be the quarterback. But more importantly, with this argument about QB1, for me, is that you need, because of Michael Thomas, Taysom Hill to be a Swiss Army knife as opposed to being the starting quarterback and you just lining him up in one spot every down.
Believe it or not, I think Taysom Hill should be the starting quarterback, at least to start the season. Sean Payton has been talking for a long time now about his belief in Taysom Hill, and he'll tell you that on the record and off the record. Sean Payton believes he can be a quarterback in the league. And even if you're like, come on, coach, really? You're not. There's no ulterior motive. He believes it. And I think Taysom Hill, for so long, I've had arguments with NFL players, current and especially past players, who, when Taysom Hill, and this is going back a couple years, well, he's a gadget player. You're kind of burning a roster spot on Taysom Hill. And sometimes guys who are really versatile, you can kind of get hit with that rep, right? A utility guy. He's a jack of all trades, a master of none. Why? Because he can throw, he can really run, and he can catch. Therefore, he's a gadget player that you don't value. Now, we haven't seen a huge sample size of him as quarterback. And obviously, you're right, Marcus, they're going to have to look more like the Baltimore Ravens than they have. This is not a guy who's going to throw for 350 yards. You don't figure he's going to use his legs. But I don't see why he can't do that. You know, if you look at his, like, does he, you talk about dink and dunk, yes. Does he have explosive plays in his arm? Probably not. Certainly not as much as Jameis, but he probably not going to turn the ball over as much as Jameis in either. And as a dual threat quarterback, which Jameis is not, he can give you different looks. I'm all for him at least starting the season. Neither one of these guys is going to strike fear into the NFL, but at least starting the season with Taysom Hill.
Max, I have to disagree with you, and I'm going to have to go with Marcus. Listen, when you look at this New Orleans Saints football team, Michael Thomas is one of their best players, right? He's going to benefit more from Jameis Winston. When you look last year when Taysom Hill came into that role, you want to know who diminished a little bit? Alvin Kamara. The New Orleans Saints cannot afford for Alvin Kamara to diminish because of Taysom Hill being your quarterback. I tell you one thing that's a known fact, and Swagger, you know this being a defensive player. It's hard as hell being a defensive coordinator trying to put together a defensive plan when you know you have a QB1 in Jameis Winston, but then you have a Swiss Army knife in Taysom Hill that you have to prepare for because the multiple different roles he has to play in. Now he can play on special teams and be the punt protector like you can. So if you want to go for it on 4th and 1 and 4th and 2, now you can. Taysom Hill is not going to be in those roles if he's your QB1 because you don't want to risk him getting hurt. So for me, it's a no-brainer. You have to go with Jameis Winston. And I know he was a part of the 30-30 club, but I think Jameis really benefited from sitting behind Drew Brees and understanding. And I always use this analogy right here, guys.
Absolutely.
And I use it when I talk about Tom Brady and Teddy Bridgewater. It's like when you go to the bank. You never get tired of making deposits. So if you got to hit that check down 2 or 3 times and throw that football away, continue to make those little deposits because you're in the pluses and never the minuses.
This is a legitimate question because I think that is a good argument, and it's not like either of these guys, if I was a Saints fan, I'd be psyched to be my quarterback heading into the season. And if Jameis can just cut down on the interceptions and he could be, instead of 30-30, 25 and 15 even, that'd be a big improvement. But
anything's an improvement.
Yeah, right. But this is a legitimate question. Why do you guys think Sean Payton has consistently said Taysom Hill both on and off the record, and he's a guy who's seen these guys up close? Why do you think Coach keep saying Taysom Hill?
Max,
Maybe
listen,
coach have had maybe he has too many drinks.
Sorry, Harry?
Look, to answer your question, to
It's
No,
slightly
after you,
funnier
after
than
you,
the
after
Winston
you.
video.
Harry say he had too many drinks. Listen, let me take this one. This is a part of keeping, not only keeping, this is coaching, Max. This is a part of keeping Taysom Hill engaged. This is a part of giving him an opportunity to see if he can play QB. And he had that opportunity last year. I think the biggest, listen, and it's going to sound terrible, and it's the biggest indictment on Taysom Hill, okay, when it comes to talking about quarterback. Remember, we all know Taysom Hill is an elite football player in the way that he's being used. But when the biggest indictment on Taysom Hill is that he did not come into this season the clear-cut starter after being the only guy to play last year when Drew Brees was out, right? We all understand how this QB thing works. If you're not QB1 and you've had an opportunity to show that you could be against a guy that didn't play, I think Jameis threw for 72 total yards last year. Taysom started 4 games, I believe, or 5, and then you come into camp and the coach is like, look, I love Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill can play quarterback, but I ain't about to name him QB1, even though he's the guy that I went with last season. And when Teddy Bridgewater, who Sean Payton thought was a more competent quarterback, which he was, is
Agreed.
the reason he started those 5
Yes,
games.
but we're not talking about Bridgewater.
To Taysom Hill.
I agree. If we're talking about Teddy Bridgewater,
Max,
we're not talking about him.
Max, follow my point. All right. Taysom Hill last year started 4 games when Drew Brees was out.
And completed over 70% of his passes. Yeah.
Max, he's not the clear QB1.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.